Braveheart Workshops is hosting a virtual online event, Creating Hope, Health, and Healing in 2021. Transformation through empowerment and connection. Embrace the truth that you are loved and matter. Join us on Friday, March 12, 2021 from 1 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. During this time of uncertainty, find ways to manage stress, balance your emotions, replenish your energy, promote well-being for yourself and loved ones. Take time to pray and meditate. Give purpose to what you want to achieve in your life pertaining to hope, health, and healing. Join us as our speakers share their stories. Our lineup of speakers include Jill Reynolds, the founder of Braveheart Workshops and our event host. Dr. Laura Wood, our keynote speaker, speaking on embodiment. Krista Alicia, our special guest speaker. Patricia Rogers, Dr. Susie Warden, Alana De La Cruz, Heidi Salzberg-Wild, and Tanya Gibson. The event will be recorded live. After the event, you will receive the recording by email. If you can't attend, you could watch it anytime. Your investment is only $28.99, so please register now. Go to braveheartworkshops.com. The event again is March 12th, 2021 from 1 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please go to braveheartworkshops.com and register today. The Connection Show, Creating Hope, Health, and Healing in 2021, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Rob. Welcome to the show, Camille.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you for inviting me. Such a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. Where are you located, Camille?
I'm in Florida.
Ooh, you're Florida. Well, I'm Branson, Missouri. And what I'd love the audience to know is a little bit about you. So I'm going to read Camille's bio. Fabulous Camille Robb is the CEO of Just Fabulous Care, JFC Global Concierge Service, and JFC Global Academy. Camille is a public speaker, a mentor, an entrepreneur, an investor, and has been an advocate for children for over 25 years. Camille has over 25 years of progressive experience caring for children and adults of all ages, from a newborn, interacting with a toddler, mentoring a teenager, and making the elderly smile all in one day. Camille's a true leader and a wonderful team player who manages to foster positive discussions and brings the best out of others. She possesses a proven track record of delivering professional care while engaging children in a broad variety of stimulating activities. Camille's been married for 28 years and has 2 children of her own. She's owned and operated a daycare center for over 10 years. Her philosophy is to make a positive impact in each child's life by providing a broad base of cognitive, intellectual, and emotional support. She has owned and operated a student exchange program that holds students from around the world, such as China, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Australia, Japan, and many more countries. Camille is on the board of directors with Dr. Phillips Chamber, who's the member of WOAMTEC African American Group, Project Feeding Kids, Embrace Families, and WWCA Florida Chapter. And I think it's supposed to say hosts these children. I think I said the wrong word, but she hosts them. Well, what an amazing woman of loving all these people from around the world.
I love it. When you met children from all over the world, it gives you a new part on life because the culture is so different with the culture. So my children from China, they're very quiet, laid back, and very, some people would say they don't have any expression, but they do. But you have to be the one to reach out to that child and understand that. You have to be the one to reach out to that student and learn more about how they behave with a family. They'll come to me and they're like, shoulders are up like that because they don't like to be, hugged. They don't have a conversation with you. But as soon as they see me and I start smiling and telling, hey, we just love on each other. Okay. This is a total different environment. We're here to learn from each other and grow. And the shoulder goes down, my hands go up, and the hug come in. So
Mm. Well,
I love it.
I'm glad you said that. When Dr. Laura Wood and I did our Braveheart workshops, we had our last one in July of 2019 in Nashville, and a girl in China saw that Dr. Laura Wood was doing her drama therapy. She flew all the way from China for a weekend just to be under the leadership of Dr. Laura Wood, and just an amazing Chinese student. And such a sad story, Camille. She thought Dr. Laura Wood was so amazing that when she got home, she registered to be in Dr. Wood's graduate program at Lesley University, and she was supposed, but listen what happened. The program was supposed to start in August of last year, and then of course COVID hit. So I don't know if she'll ever be able to leave China to come, but she was such a sweet girl. I fell in love with her.
Oh, you see, that's the thing. You always fall in love with them. You can't help it.
Oh,
The student make you love them. Because if you look at it, my students varies. It can be a 10-year-old to my oldest student, he was 54 years old. So they make you love them because the way they come to you, they're coming to you and say, okay, I'm here. What is it you're going to teach me? What is it am I going to learn from you? And they're open to learning.
wow. Well, the other thing, and gosh, we'll have to talk some more about this off the thing, but when my husband and I lived in Chicago, we went to Willow Creek Community Church, Camille, which is one of the largest churches in the world. And every year they did a global leadership summit. And my husband and I volunteered for 20 years to house pastors from all over the world. And what was so cool, and I want to have you take off on this. What was so cool is we never knew who we were going to get. We just knew, oh, we're going to get a pastor from South Africa or New Zealand or Germany or the Dominican. And that's all we knew, is where they were coming, how many days they were staying at our home, and what their names were. That was it. So when they arrived, it was so cool because we didn't know if they pastored a church with 10 attendees or 25,000. We didn't know if they were from a community or the wealthy. So when they came into our home, it was so cool to learn from each other.
And that's exactly how the program worked. So before we started this, my husband and I used to do the same thing. We volunteered and we did that for years. And the best part about it is that you don't know exactly what you're getting, who is coming to you. And it's like you're put it like this. It's like you're pregnant and you say, I don't want to know what the baby is.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just go, everything is unisex. Yellow, yes, because boys can wear it and girls. And when they arrive, it's like, and you know that's your child or that's your student. Your heart just start racing the day before, and you just say, okay, I wonder if they're gonna like us. I'm like, what? Not to like? Like?
Well, you know what I'd love to hear is I want to hear some of your stories. I do, of the different people that you got that shocked you. The one that I remember the most were two sisters from Norway. They were like in their early 20s, and they showed up at my home. They love bringing gifts of this beautiful glass blown angel, and they didn't have any idea that I collect angels. So I was like, and they told me their grandfather owned a glass blowing shop in Norway. But what was so cool, when the girls arrived, she had asked me if there was a place she could go shopping to look for a wedding dress that she was getting married. And so I brought her to the best wedding dress place where you can buy designer gowns for 75% off. So being from Norway, she was shocked with the pricing. So we got her the gown she wanted, and then she shared the story. This is what was cool. She shared she was getting married to the Olympic gold medalist skier from Norway,
Wow.
and that it was going to be an elite wedding because of who he was. And that for her wedding, they had to have two gowns, one for the ceremony and one for the reception. So she was picking out her reception dress while she was in the United States. But then she pulled out what would be equivalent to maybe like the Inquirer here in the United States, and shared with us that her and her fiance were on the cover, and shared their testimony to Norway of how they both were Christians and were celibate until they got married. And so
Oh,
she was
wow.
a famous person that stayed at my home. Anyway, so that's mine. I want to hear some of yours. I mean, and again, you don't know who's coming. It's kind of like how Jesus says, "Give hospitality to all," because you don't
Hmm.
know if you'll be housing an angel.
Amen to that. I agree with that because my husband always say you treat everyone the same. And that's our philosophy. You treat everyone the same because you never know if that's the one. So you don't do anything different that you do from no. So I have a few excited ones that I've met. So one of my little one, he was from Germany. So this one is kind of, his mom is a very well-known person. So she decided that it was his first time he was going to be away from her, and she was going to take off to Dubai for 3 months. So I showed up, and he's in Germany, right? When he showed up and he saw me, he was like, and his face turned red when he saw me. I said, "Oh my gosh, it's okay. I don't eat people." And one side of his face was like, he thought it was funny, but he didn't want to show any form of emotion. So we came home, and I thought everything was okay. We had a conversation in the car and everything. And he went, showed him his room, showed him how to go into his room and everything, and have him set up. 2 o'clock in the morning, my husband said, "Hey, there's a crime going on." I was like, "Huh?" He said, "Yes. Every time the kids cry, they're mine. Your son is crying." I'm like, "No, your daddy. You go find out what's going on." He said, "No, I'm not going." So I knocked the door and I asked him if he's okay. And he said, "Yes." I say, "Is it okay for me to come in?" And he said, "Yes." Went in there and I said, "What's the matter?" He said he wants to go home. He wants to go to his mom. He wants to talk to, I said, "Do you want to talk to your mom?" And he says, "Yes, I want to talk to my mom." So I got the phone out, called his mom, and I don't know what time it was, but she wasn't happy that I called her. So I said to her, I said, "I don't want to alarm you. He's fine, but he really needs to talk to his mother." And we had him on speaker, and they were speaking in their language, and she started speaking English. She said, "Let me talk to Mr. Robb. And I'm going to tell you right now, no, I'm not coming to get you. You're going to stay there and you're going to learn how to have a different reaction to different people. I am not coming. I'm in Dubai and I'm not coming. You won't see me for 3 months. So you have to just live with that." And he said, she said, "You better behave yourself." I was like, uh-oh. Then he hyperventilate, and I hugged him. I said, "Listen, I know you don't know us, and I know you're scared, but it's okay. Just give us a few days so you could understand who we are and how we can make a difference." And he said, okay, okay. Went inside the room, closed the door. The morning I got up and singing and dancing, and because that's what I do when I have kids in the house. I'm extra happy. And he came out. I said, "Good morning, Louis. Are you okay?" And he's like, "Uh-huh." I said, "Did you sleep well?" "Uh-huh." I said, "So do you want to help me cook? Because we're doing breakfast for everyone this morning. Do you want to help me cook?" And he's like, "Oh, yes. Oh, yes." We went in the kitchen and we started the cooking, and he was singing with me and dancing. And when it was over, he said to me, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, for letting me help you to cook. I always cook with my mother. And that's when honey, every time I get ready to go outside the door, he said, "Can I come?" When it was time for him to leave, he cried and said he wasn't ready to go home.
Aw.
Now, that part to me was one of the most important things in his journey and the journey that we had together, because he was so upset that he was here. But then after that, he realized that we're here to just love on him and show culture, To this day, we still have conversation. Every birthday, I'm getting this big birthday, happy birthday. He says, "My Jamaican mom."
How old was he when he arrived?
15.
Aw.
And now he's 20, I think he's 23. And he's one of the head one of the head teacher in his organization.
Nice.
He's teaching children. And he said the reason why he decided to do that is because the way how I treated him. So he has a room full of kids that he get to work with every day. And it's just amazing how you can make a difference.
And God knew that you were supposed to go in the bedroom and not your husband, because he needed a mom. He needed a mom figure.
And you're right. He needed a mom figure. He definitely needed a mom. And then after that, son, everywhere I go, he was right there. We'll go grocery shopping together. My husband would stay home and him and I would go grocery shopping. And it was so much fun. I had another student. He was an ambassador. I didn't know he was an ambassador. And when he came, they told me that that need to be protected. So that's what they explained to you. They didn't say, okay, he's a diplomat from here and his parents are here. They didn't want to put that kind of pressure on the parents. So they use my house as a safe haven. So the children that are at a high risk of being abducted, they come to me. And trust me, when he came here, that boy was full of life, a lot of energy. But what I realized with him, he have never been outside in the garden. He doesn't know what it's like to run around without his shoes on his feet. He doesn't know what it's like to dig in the ground and plant something. So him and my husband was like best friends, because my husband, we have a garden, and he came and he was all over the place. One thing happened to him that I was scared about. When he came back to me, his leg was covered in red spot. And I was like, oh, Lord, he done picked up some form of allergy. So immediately I got him taken care of, just to find out, because it's his first reaction to grass. I was like, really? He said, I've never been outside before like that.
Wow.
All his life. Can you believe that?
His body didn't know how to respond to a new environment, but he needed it. He needed his immunity to be built up to environment.
There's so many excited story about the kids that I've had. I had one, he was, his dad owned, was it? I can't say what car dealership he owned, but one of the very luxury car dealer he owns. And that was a handful. When I say he will go to the next level in everything, he will. I got a call from the school and said, Miss Robb, you need to come and get your son because he had broke the rules. I was like, huh? My kids don't break rules. And she's like, he did. My son decided he was going to smoke cigarette because in China, they allow them to do that there. And that's according to some of the children. Oh, Jill, I was like furious when they called me and told me that. I was like, this boy's trying to give me a heart attack. I went up to the school. I said to him, I said, listen, are you okay? He said, yes. I said, okay. Because of that, you're going to be out of school for a couple of days. In the same time, we need to talk to your dad. When I said that we're going to talk to his dad, see his face.
Oh yeah, is that a Chinese student getting in trouble with his father? It's
honey.
like I'd rather be hung.
Exactly. Put me outside and feed me to the gators because I'm not going home. And I tell him, I say, you're going to have to talk. We're going to have a conversation because you cannot stay here and break the rules. You cannot. And he was like, please, please. I'm not sure. Please, 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 please. I did talk to his dad. His dad was so mad, so mad. And I said to him, you have a choice. You had to follow the rules. Or dad said, I can put you on a plane tomorrow with no problem. And he begged us to let him stay. And he stayed. And trust me, he was such a different child, you know. He was, everything is okay, no problem. And he followed the rules.
Wow. How old was he now, Camille?
He's now, I think he's like 24 now.
But when he came to you, was he in
when he came to me, he was 14.
Wow. Well, you know, it's funny that you shared that story. You know what comes to me? I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. And this blows my mind away because of what you just told me. Do you know, because you said in China they could smoke. I'm 67. Can you believe this? Because you've dealt with a lot of teens. When I went to high school in 1968 to 1972, we literally did a sit-in in the hallways of our school to protest so we could have a smoking area outside to smoke cigarettes when we were 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
And do you know we won? And they gave us a smoking area to go outside to smoke cigarettes every day. And of course, you know, this was the hippie era, you know, Camille. So we got kids in between classes going outside smoking cigarettes and marijuana in between classes. And they gave us permission to do it. Can you believe this? And
that's crazy.
And we didn't even need our parents' permission. We didn't.
Oh my God.
I look back upon it now because I'm a mom, and I went back to that high school several years ago, and they still have it. But there's the only difference they do now is the children, and this blows my mind away. The children have to have a signed note from their parents giving them permission that they're allowed to go to the smoking area. Like, what illiterate parent is going to sign a thing saying, yeah, my 14-year-old could smoke in between classes? Like, who would sign that? Who in the world would sign that? And they don't even allow you to buy cigarettes till you're 18, but the high school is letting you get a parental signature to smoke cigarettes. It just blows my mind away. But when you said that, I'm like, it's crazy here too. And this was in the 70s, and then again when I went back, this was in the 2000s. But anyway, let's go into. Yeah, so what I'd love to do on the Connection Show, we didn't even get a chance to because you're so much fun to talk to. I absolutely love on the Connection Show connecting dots to people's stories in their own personal life. So would you share a bit about little Camille, because you're so good with children, and share what your life was like growing up that led you into wanting to do what you're doing today?
Well, when I was growing up, I grew up with my grandmother. So my grandmother had a house full of kids. I thought those were my brothers and sisters because when my mom had me, she was young. So my grandmother took me in. And I've always seen children coming in and out of my grandmother's house. I was like, after a while, I realized that we weren't related because sometimes they go home. And I wanted to be a pediatrician. And the reason why I wanted to be a pediatrician because I had two younger brothers. When we were away from our grandmother, we didn't have much, we didn't have much to eat, and that was a problem. And I said, I have to figure out how and why this is happening. So having that happen, it kind of woke me up. My grandmother is always feeding people. And no matter where you are coming from, I mean, you have people that will come hours just to come and sit in my grandmother's kitchen. And I used to say to my grandmother, why is it that they come to you? And she said, because it's love. She said, when you love unconditioned, people will gravitate to you no matter what. I remember one day I was upset because my uncle pushed me down. He was always getting me into something, And he pushed me down, and my grandmother ran around because I screamed out because I was hurting. And she came around and she said, are you okay? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, why are you screaming like that? I said, because he pushed me down and I'm scratched my knee and I'm hurting. And she said, okay, stay right here. I'll be right back. And she left. In a few minutes, she came back. She said, okay, are you still in pain? I said, not as much. She said, okay, I want you to get up, clean yourself off, and move on. I was like, you're a kid and you're expecting her to cuddle you up and make you feel good. No, she said, life is not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to push you down and step on you. But as long as you could look up, you get up and you move. Don't just sit there. So with her always encouraging me how to move forward and help people. And she always talk about smiling. She said, your smile on your face, I want to see it every day because it's not just for you. God gave you that smile for the world, and people are out there waiting for that smile. So put it on. I don't care how you feel. You put it on and you wear it with pride. And that's how the name Fabulous. She said, you know what? You're going to be a fabulous child. I know you are. You're going to be a light that the world is looking for. Just keep smiling and keep loving on people. And when I came into this country, because I'm originally from Jamaica, came into this country and went to school and became a nurse. I said, okay, that's the first part of being a nurse. I wanted to be a pediatrician, didn't work out, like I planned. And I start volunteering. My first job, I was working at a daycare center. And I had 27 students in my classroom, 27. At the age of 19, 27 students, 27 different personality, 27 different attitudes. Have you ever seen the movie Gremlin? My children were fine on Tuesday, but come Monday when they come to me, they're like little gremlins. And every Monday I had to reprogram them. Why? I found out that these children weren't being fed over the weekend. And I started volunteering at school and I noticed the same thing. When I had my own children, my children used to take food to school that I made for them and give it away. I'm like, what is going on? And my daughter would say, oh, I had to give Stacy my sandwich because she didn't have any sandwich. I said, but the school provide food. She said, but it's not enough, Mom. My son would give it to Jordan. The same thing. I was like, what's going on? And then I was like, you know what? I have to make a difference somehow. So with our daycare going, I realized that if I can have a program set up for my children, so when they come to me, they have something to eat, it'll make a difference. And I did. I started the daycare, and I did what I said I was going to do. My kids come in 5 days, they come there 5 days a week. Sometime I have extra kids on the weekend because their parents, the ones that are nurse that work at night. So I do it. But I don't think what I did was a job. I think it was something that gave me pleasure, because I know that every time they leave me, they left me because they're full, that I don't have to worry about. All my parents had to do with their children was to read a story. That was the only thing, because they already took their shower, they already had their dinner, and I know the parents have worked all day. So what I did was make sure I fed them. So when they get home, all the parents had to do just read story, and I always assign a story every night for them to read to their children.
Wow. Did the parents do that and they
Oh, they
read?
have no choice. If you did not read that story, it's a $50 fine. Oh, yeah.
So it taught parents how to learn how to stop and connect with their children and give them the
Yes.
much needed love they needed.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that so much. So tell us then, you started this daycare, loving on these kids. Help the audience know then how you evolved, because I see behind you that you have a couple of other types of businesses, and the one I see is Pay Your Bills and Feed a Child. So share with the audience then of how then you came up with this vision to carry that message on.
Okay. So that's a good question, Jill. So 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when stuff started falling apart in 2008, I said, okay, stuff is not going the way I wanted it. So 2010, the daycare and all the stuff that I've worked hard for, we had a crash in 2008, right? And everybody that had real estate, had rental property, everything just went boom. And we all were trying to figure out what's next. So a friend of mine said to me, do you look at other ways to making money? I'm like, hey, I'm a businesswoman, of course. Who doesn't look for other ways to making money? And she said, okay, I want to introduce you to someone that's making a difference. And especially with you and you feeding children, this would be a good platform for you. And I was like, okay. And that's what she caught me right there when she's talking about feeding kids, because I'm all about that. Now, I partnered with a company 11 years ago. And what the company does, every time I acquire a customer, they pay that, when you pay that bill, they use that same bill that you paying to feed a child. And to me, that was like a no-brainer. But when you talk about stuff like that, people get so, tied up because they say, what is it? It says a multi-level marketing, and everybody is all crunched up about multi-level marketing. And I said, do you know one of the biggest multi-level marketing right now? And people always say Amway. I said, no, it's not. It's Amazon. Amazon do not own any store, but they patronize thousands and thousands of stores to bring the product to you. So if you have a company that you could pay your bills, and not only pay your bills, you can save on those bills. Not only save on those bills, make a residual income on those bills that you're going to pay anyway. Why not? And to me, it made a whole lot of sense. So I'm doing stuff that I love to do. I'm feeding children. I'm saving money on my bills, and I'm getting paid for it. So now I have Japan. That's one of my country that I when they pay their bills, I get to feed a kid. Peru, the same thing. So I'm like, I can feed kids in different country just from my company. And I was like, to me, that make a whole lot of sense. And you could also get your services for free. Come on.
Wow.
Uber is doing it. Airbnb is doing it. Why not me? So every time I get that check from the company, I put it in a special account. So like on Christmas, last year we had about, I think it was like 12 or 17 kids, I don't remember, that had needs at the place that I help. So we had a 17-year-old that needed a bike. We had a 17-year-old that needed what do you call it, earphones or whatever they call it,
Headphones. Uh-huh.
headphones. We had one that needed to get backpack. So the money that I make from that, that's what I used it to do. I don't use it for anything else. I use it to feed the kids. I have parents who call me and say, "Hey, Miss Rob, I need some food. Can you help me out this month?" Why not? The money is coming in from something that I love to do. I'm saving the money and I'm making it. So I take that money and I use it to help others.
Wow, that's amazing. What's the name of the company, may I ask?
So the name of the company is called ACN.
ACN. And
Mm-hmm.
then where because I'm gonna just do this for just a second. I usually don't yet. So this is Camille's bio, and I have your bio. I wasn't sure of your links, Camille, so I put your bio up of the Just Fabulous Care, and then I put a Facebook book, Just Fabulous Care. So before when we're done, email me the link to how to utilize this ACN. And when
Okay.
I post my this interview on YouTube and stuff, we'll have that link so people, and the phone number
Sweet.
that's on your screen now, is that a phone number people can call you at
Yeah.
personally?
Yes, they can call
Okay.
me.
So call Camille at 407-489-5738. And now when they do this, Camille, do they have to switch, like for example, I'm with Verizon. Do I have to
Mhm.
switch my self-service company to do this, or can I keep Verizon and still go through this ACN? Do I have to switch all my providers?
So you stay with Verizon, but instead of straight Verizon, you come to Verizon to ACN through me.
Okay. So instead of paying them directly, I'd come
Mm-hmm.
through ACN, set up all
Mm-hmm.
my bills, because this is kind of an interesting concept. So let me ask you this, because when my son, who's now 38, went off to college, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a single, never married mom, Camille. I raised my son 17
I
years
love the way
myself.
you say that. A single, never married mom.
And you know why I say that? You know why? You know why I say
I love
that?
it.
You know why I say that?
No.
Because this is the oh gosh, that's a funny story that right there that you just cracked me up. You know, that's a funny story. So I get pregnant at 28. I had just become a Christian, backslid, got pregnant, had a son. So when I'd meet people, they'd say, "Oh, are you single? Are you married? Or divorced? Or widowed?" And those were the four choices: Are you single? Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you widowed? And I said, "Well, I'm single." But they said, "But I thought you said you had a son." And I says, "Well, I do." And I says, "Oh, well, so are you divorced?" I go, "No, I'm single." And one man said this to me. "Then how did you have a baby?" And I said, "Well, I had sex. I wasn't married. I got pregnant, delivered the kid, and now I'm a single, never married mom. So that's going to be my marital status." And so they need to change forms to say single, never married mom, single, never married, never father, because I didn't have an identity and I had to create my own. And
I've never heard that before.
well, you know
I've
what?
heard divorce,
Yeah,
married.
yeah, and you know what? And you know what else you've never heard? You know what else you've never heard? I went to treatment 5 times for eating disorders because I grew up in a family as well where I was a latchkey child at 5. And my mother would lock us out of the house for 8 hours a day with no toilet and no food. And so I wandered around the neighborhood, and my neighbor who would see us would say, do you want to use the toilet? Which I did. And then she'd go, "Can I make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" Well, I didn't know this, but I had so much shame about being hungry that many times I would tell her, "No, Mrs. DeTillo, I'm not hungry," because I had so much embarrassment and shame. So what a lot of people don't understand about children starving is they have so much embarrassment and shame that they have a
Mm-hmm.
need, that they go through life and now today there's an actual eating disorder called restrictive avoidance disorder, and it's a deadly disease where people restrict meals and food types because of whatever emotion is there. And so when I got into treatment, I was diagnosed with restrictive avoidance disorder slash binge eating because I would restrict breakfast and lunch and then eat a dinner and then binge afterwards as an adult. And I didn't realize it connected the dots to this little girl who was starving because I was not thriving. I was like so tiny. I looked like I was going to blow away in the wind.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know how I got into that story, but when you were sharing, my heart was like, I get it. I was one of those kids. And and you could relate to this probably more than anyone in the whole universe because you took in so many children of different cultures, social economic backgrounds, and color. What I think so many people don't grasp is when you meet a child like me, that I was, in in mid-America, in a suburb, who's Caucasian. For some reason, you never identify that this child is suffering. You might know that a black child is suffering or a Hispanic child because they classify, oh, of course, they live in this bad neighborhood, but
Yeah.
they never think that a Caucasian kid's ever suffering. And it was really weird. And I think I grew up, and this is a weird story, but I think I grew up then embracing the black community later on in my life because I just didn't feel like I fit in with the Caucasian community. Does that make any
I
sense to you? Can,
Yes,
can you
yes,
identify what I'm saying?
yes, yes. I can identify with that because, like with me, when I was growing up, all I knew was my grandmother and
Hmm.
what she taught me, and then I had to make that shift to my mother, and it was a total different thing. So when I came here, I started experience what you're talking about because when you're growing up, you adopt certain you know, principle, and you're trying to figure out, okay, am I this way? Am I that way? With my daughter, it's the same thing. When she was going to school, my daughter is a beautiful chocolate skinned girl. But when she opened up her mouth, they used to say, oh, you sound like a little white girl. What you trying to do? Be white?
Wow.
And it's the same thing with you with the people don't understand that hungry is hungry, no matter what color or creed you are. When you're
Yeah.
hungry, hungry, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's
Food is
and when
something.
you don't feel like you belong or fit in. And so when I went to treatment, and so when you laughed when I said, I was a single, never married mom, when I went to treatment for my eating disorder and I had to go, see the psychiatrist and blah blah blah. I remember one day looking at Dr. Q, the psychiatrist, and I said to him, "So Dr. Q, what's my diagnosis? Do I have borderline personality disorder? Am I bipolar? Do I have ADD? What do I have? Like, what's wrong with me?" And he was he reminds me of you. He was from another country. I don't even know where he was from. He sat back in his chair like this for a few minutes, and then he leaned forward. He goes, diagnosis, Jill. I think your diagnosis is you have unique personality disorder. There's no one like you. And it's funny, but I embrace that because I felt like I needed to have a label to make sure the world knew that I had something wrong with me. And he looked at me and said, "You're unique. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with you, Jill. There's nothing."
Exactly.
And it was like, I think I just went through life with so much victimization and pain that I thought I had to have a label that would maybe tell the world why I was so messed up. I'm so
But
screwed up, I got to have a label.
and that's what they do to our children now. They
Yeah.
do that to our children. They put a label on a child. I remember one of my students that was in my daycare, his mom kept my card because I had a waiting list. And she kept my card for like 2 years until she finally came. She moved from Georgia to Florida and she said, I don't know if you still have any space, but I want my son to be with you. I'm like, well, I have a space, but I have a space for a 2-year-old. And at the time, he was a year and a half. And she said, but I need him to be with you. I've saved this card for two over 2 years because I needed to. I was like, okay, we'll do that. Now, wait, when he came to me, he was two, I think it was almost 2.5 years old, 2.5 years old. So she kept the card. She was pregnant, got my card, saved the card. Then she decided to move and come. And listen to this story. When he came to us, he was not one of those functional kids, right? Function on his own. That's what they labeled him as. ADHD. That's what they labeled
They
him as.
label everyone that.
And he was getting ready to be evaluated and get medication. And I said to her, give me at least 6 months with him before you go let them put that stuff on him. And she said, okay. And he was with me. And my assistant said to me, I'm not sure this is going to be a good fit for us. That's what she said. Because he would sit there and hit his head on the wall, hit his head on the wall, hit his head on the wall. So I say, okay, let me work with him. Whenever I'm talking to my children, I always sit down on the floor and never stand over them, because kids see you as this big old giant, you know? And especially if you're going to come and your finger is going like that, they think you're disciplining them for some reason or another. So I go on the floor and I start talking to him and I ask him one question. I say, are you okay? And he turned around and he looked at me and he looked to the side and he said, yes. I said, okay. I said, what is it that you like to do? I said, I don't know that answer. I said, what is it that you like to do? You have words, you can talk to me. And he said, I like to draw. I said, okay. So I went and I got a pamphlet, put it down in front of him, and I got one myself. I can't draw to save my life. Okay, Jill? I cannot draw anything. So I was drawing a face and I put the ears on it and so I was doing that. He was doing the same thing. He was mimicking what I was putting on the paper, and he picked it up and showed me. And he said, what about this one? And I drew. It was the same thing that I drew. We went and kept going. Now, I realized something with him. Before you start moving to the next project, you can't just go and take his stuff away. And my assistant realized that at the wrong time, because we were in the middle of cleaning up to go outside before lunch. So she went, I didn't know either. She went and grabbed the stuff up and put it up. Oh, Jill, that's where you put the water on the gremlin? He started screaming and he went over there and started banging his head on the wall. I was like, and I grabbed him and I sat down on the floor with him and I held him. I said, hey, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. He said, no, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. And I'm saying in my head, okay, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix this? Camille, think. And then I went back to what my grandmother said, start singing. Because my grandmother used to sing all the time, especially when stuff get crazy in the house. She starts singing, and I start singing, and I start rocking him, and I start singing, and he calmed down. And there was a puzzle that was on the floor that he was trying to finish. I remember it was the American flag puzzle that he was trying to finish, and she took it from him, and he went bizarre. He went wild.
Wow.
I said to him, I said, do you want to finish? And he said, yes. I said, do you need some help? He said, no.
Yeah, he just needed completion.
Yes.
He needed completion. And, I know I'm looking at the time and I know you have another, I could sit here for 5 days and talk to you. I mean, right now, my head is spinning because you and I, Camille, have to do a retreat for adults based on this theory. Adults need to be like children and go back and heal their wounds. And I have some ideas for you. So we have to talk. I have another even though, like the world out there that's listening to me who hates multi-level marketing, take that
It's
out of
going to be
your
cruel.
brain because there's something
Well,
I want to share with Camille offline, but I'll share it to you for 1 minute. Camille, I want you to get involved with Amari Global, the mental wellness company. They
Hmm.
won number one, the Nutra Awards, which is like the Academy Awards for nutritional products for children. They won a nutritional award for these products that I am not lying. Children that were diabetes that never had come out of the red zone, 3 months on on the product, they got in the green zone. A young girl who has cerebral palsy, and she had no hair on the top of her head from banging her head from seizures in the middle of the night, got on the product, and her father, who's part of the company now, said he started seeing Sadie's hair was growing back, and he was like, that's weird. What he was noticing, she went from daily multiple seizures a day to 1 or 2 seizures a week by doing these
Wow.
products. They gave these products as a beta test to soldiers in Oregon, PTSD soldiers. They gave them the products, and in 6 months, they had reduced their PTSD by 60%. They're organic
Mm.
nutrients. So we got to talk, you and I, because this could help
Okay.
your little kids. And then two more things I got to say to you really fast that you'll crack up laughing. I live my life watching my grandkids because they help to heal my pain from my childhood. My little I'll have to show it to you. It's on my Facebook page. My little 5-year-old grandson was taking a walk with his mother the other day, and he had on big red sunglasses, and he's walking down the street, and he goes, "I notice over there that that house has red bricks, and over there there's some white color." He said, "I wonder what it would be like if you're colorblind." He goes, "How
Oh.
would," and this is a 5-year-old. He goes, "How would you even know? How would you know if you're colorblind? How would you know if that really is red or if that's really white?" He goes, "That's something for me to ponder. How do I know if I really see color in the right color?" And I'm just like, this is a 5-year-old like having
Mhm.
this conversation. It blew me away. So that I wanted to end with, and then the other one I wanted to end with because of your little boy is because I did so much time in healing in treatment centers for depression and eating disorder. I had the privilege of getting to know the essence of art therapy. And art therapy is never about being a good drawer. Art therapy is about putting something on paper and then sitting back and asking that child or the adult what it is that they just put on the paper and listening. And I
Mhm.
did this so your little boy there that was freaking out over the puzzle. When my son was 6 years old and I had learned art therapy because I had had the privilege to go to treatment for codependency. So he had been on the TV, Camille, playing a video game for like 25, 30 minutes. While he was playing his video game, I was on the telephone talking to a girlfriend. So he kept saying to me all of a sudden, "Mom, get off the phone. Mom, get off the phone. I need you. Mom, get," and I, of course, wasn't listening. So I'm talking on the phone. This kid's playing his game. I wasn't listening. So he runs upstairs in a rage. He gets a backpack and he packs his clothes, comes stomping downstairs and says, "I'm running away from home." And I'm like, wow, that's dramatic. And I'm off the phone now. And I go, and I'm trying to calm him down because he's like ready to run away from home. I go, "Why are you upset?" "I am so mad at you." And I says, "Why?" He could not tell me, like your little boy. He couldn't tell me why he was so upset. And all of a sudden, my intuitive self says, "Get a white piece of paper, get out his crayons, whatever,
Mhm.
markers." And I said, "Draw why you're so angry." And he just started like making all
Mhm.
kinds of like colors. And so I was intuitive enough to say, "So tell me what you drew." He said, "I drew that I was playing my video game when you were on the phone ignoring me, and I think I had my highest score, and then the screen
Aw.
went away, And now I don't know how well I did because you didn't take
Oh.
time to listen to me. And I
Hmm.
was like, wow, art therapy is so impactful to help children. And the other one that this will help you with your kids is when he was 4, I couldn't get him to sleep in his bedroom. He would not sleep in his room. He said, I'm scared, Mom, in my bedroom. So I got out the piece of paper. I said, draw me a picture of what you're afraid of. So he drew these little diagrams, Camille, and I said, what's this? And he said, that's the thing over there. And it was the floor heating duct on the floor, the vent.
Hmm.
And I said, what's that? He goes, that's my bed. I said, what's that? And he goes, that's the window above the heating vent with the curtains. And he said, every time I come in here and you turn the lights off, witches are flying around in my room. And I'm so
Oh,
scared of the
wow.
witches. And I looked and I went, oh, I said, I know how to get rid of witches. He goes, you do? And I go, I have a magic potion. So I closed his heating vent that night. He went to bed. He woke up. He said, Mom, the witches were gone. It was the heat
Go
blowing his
the
curtains.
curtains.
And he thought witches were flying around. But who would it? He couldn't tell me. He couldn't tell me.
Imagination.
Well, yeah.
Imagination. That's the thing. Kids have such a wide imagination, and you have to be able to indulge it. And that's the thing with a lot of parents that I teach my parents. You have to learn how to stop and listen.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because he wanted you to see how good he was at playing his game. And he was like, my mom's going to be so proud of me and she's going to come right now. And then you didn't show up. And then the screen went away. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. So art therapy is a must with
Very good.
children. It's such a must. Well, listen, I am going to let you go because I know you have another appointment, but I mean,
Yeah.
I could spend eternity. Well, we will spend eternity together when we get to heaven, but I could spend hours with you. Before I close, audience, I would just love for you to join us this Friday, which is going to be March the 12th. You'll see this video. It'll be posted for years. So March 12th, 2021, we are having an event called Hope, Health, and Healing in 2021. And the whole event is going to be about people sharing story and then of how they grew up, just as how I asked Camille to share her story, and then be able to connect the dots. When you hear someone else's story, it helps you to connect your story too and bring hope, health, and healing in your own lives. So just like Camille sharing her story, and it connected the dots of me being a little girl and being hungry, when you hear another person's story, it will be so inspirational for you. So please join us. We have 7 amazing people sharing their story, and it's only $28.99. So register today. We will be fully recording it, so if you have to work, you can still listen to it at your convenience. And Camille, I just adore you, and I'm so honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I had fun.
We, yeah.
We laughed.
We had so much fun. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Have a blessed day. Camille, I love you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. Let's restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Enhance connection in our online connection circles. A place to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Click on the Books Podcast tab, and then the Connection Circles drop down. On the pop-up, join our Connection Circles Facebook group. Our circles meet from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share story, topics, and laughter with men and women. To learn more about Connection Circles, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Thanks for joining us on the Connection Show, and have a great day.